Have you ever felt like you're alive but not truly living? You go through the motions, fulfill your responsibilities, nod politely to everyone around you. Yet, deep down, something vital inside you feels as though it's quietly fading. It's not a sign of weakness, but rather an indication that it's been far too long since you genuinely showed up for your own life. You find yourself compromising, delaying, rationing your emotions and effort, as if you'll somehow get a second chance at this singular existence. This isn't a quick dose of superficial motivation. This is a profound wake-up call, a resonant shake designed to remind you of the fierce, deep, and meaningful way you once yearned to live. And Stoic philosophy, the timeless wisdom of Stoicism, is precisely the tool you need. It is simple, profoundly grounded, and brutally honest in its approach. The Stoics impart a fundamental teaching: do not complain, do not wait, but instead, do what is right with every fiber of your being. Stay with me until the very end of this journey, and you will finally comprehend why that pervasive feeling of something missing persists within you. Regardless of how intensely you've tried to overcome it, you will learn how to live like a true warrior. This isn't about chasing fleeting inspiration, nor is it about clinging desperately to outcomes. It's simply about showing up with full, unyielding force every single day and ensuring that life itself bears witness to your presence here. The story of Dario, a prelude to transformation. Before we embark on these lessons, allow me to share Dario's story. Dario was 29 years old, and from an external perspective, his life appeared perfectly adequate. He held a steady job, resided in a small but cozy apartment, and enjoyed weekends spent with friends. His routine was predictable, devoid of surprises, nothing serious, nothing particularly exciting. And therein lay the crux of his problem. Whenever someone inquired about his well-being, he would readily reply, "Yeah, all good." He wasn't outright lying, yet he wasn't entirely truthful either. The unvarnished truth was that Dario had been stuck in a perpetual state of pause for years. He constantly voiced his desire to start a business but never took the initial step to launch anything. He spoke of moving abroad but hadn't even bothered to renew his passport. He claimed he would begin writing, start working out, or learn something new, but his days cycled through the same monotonous loop: wake up, check his phone, go to work, return home tired, eat dinner, watch TV, and go to bed. One day, he articulated his internal struggle: "I just feel like I'm not moving forward." A friend's casual reply resonated deeply within him: "Maybe it's because you're not walking." Dario chuckled outwardly, but the sentence lodged itself firmly in his mind. The truth was not a scarcity of time, but a glaring absence of direction. He lacked the fundamental willpower to follow through on his stated desires. He incessantly repeated justifications like, "Now's not the time," or "I need more clarity," or "later, when I'm more ready." Yet, that elusive "ready" never arrived, and deep down, he knew it. Then, on a seemingly ordinary Thursday, his phone rang. It was his mother, her voice trembling. "Your dad had a heart attack." There was no cinematic drama, just a silent car ride, the rhythmic beeping of a hospital machine, and the news no one ever wishes to hear. His father, a steadfast role model of calm consistency, was gone without a final farewell. Dario's world didn't dramatically collapse, it simply ceased. He didn't cry in that moment, unsure of how to react. He simply stood still. A few days later, while assisting his mother with gathering some of his father's belongings, he discovered a shoebox tucked away in the back of a closet. Inside were papers, old photographs, and letters. Among them, a folded sheet contained a handwritten list. It detailed things his father had intended to do: when he had time, learn Italian, revisit the city where he met his wife, and write a letter to his estranged brother. At the bottom of the page, a short paragraph caught Dario's eye: "Sometimes I feel like Dario has something big inside, but it's fading because he's not moving. I hope he realizes it before it's too late." Dario stared at those words as if they were a shattered mirror, for they precisely reflected everything he had desperately avoided confronting. A sharp pain pierced his chest, not guilt, but the stark reality of everything he had allowed to slip by, every excuse he had repeated as if it were an undeniable truth. That night, sleep eluded him. He sat before his computer and typed a single, resolute sentence: "I won't let another second slip by." He had no elaborate plan, but he had made an unwavering decision. He started small. 2 months later, he resigned from his job, not impulsively, but with profound conviction. He began writing every morning, enrolled in an online course, sold unnecessary possessions, and traveled to Portugal alone, uncertain of what awaited him there. Not everything unfolded perfectly. He made mistakes, felt lost, and endured days when he yearned to surrender. But something fundamental had shifted. Now, he was moving forward every day, accompanied by fear, yes, and doubt, but always in motion. A year later, when asked about his well-being, he offered a different answer: "I'm growing." And it wasn't merely a pleasant phrase, it was the unvarnished truth. Marcus Aurelius profoundly wrote, "Time is like a river made up of the events that happen and a violent current. For as soon as something is seen, it is swept by and another comes in its place. And this too will be swept away." Dario grasped this truth, albeit belatedly. He realized that life would not pause and wait for him. Every second he allowed to slip by wasn't merely floating, waiting for him to catch up. No, the river carried it away, and with it, the opportunities he never seized. He discovered that his most formidable enemy was not a lack of time, talent, or luck. It was his own pervasive stillness, his uncanny ability to camouflage passivity as caution and cowardice as logic. And you, how many seconds have you permitted the current to carry away? How many more times will you utter, "I'll start tomorrow," knowing full well that tomorrow perpetually remains out of reach? This video is not designed to evoke guilt. It is here to awaken you. For if you do not compel yourself to grow, if you do not force yourself to become better, no one else will do it for you. And every single second you fail to utilize for forward momentum is one more second the river inexorably sweeps away forever. 1. Stop believing your own excuses. My friend, your mind possesses an uncanny ability to deceive you, so skillfully that you often fail to recognize it. I'm not referring to grand, audacious lies, but to the subtle, insidious ones. The ones you repeat to yourself daily without ever subjecting them to scrutiny. "I don't have time. I'm too tired. It's not the right moment." These phrases sound perfectly reasonable, don't they? Yet, they are, in reality, the invisible shackles that bind you precisely where you are. Every time you utter them, you are not describing your objective reality, you are merely justifying your stagnation. And the most insidious part is that you voice them as if they are irrefutable facts, as if you've conducted some profound, objective analysis. But no, they are merely excuses, meticulously disguised as truth. It's akin to residing in a prison where the bars are meticulously crafted from paper. At first glance, it appears to be a solid, impenetrable structure. You tell yourself that you cannot possibly break free, that you are inextricably trapped by your circumstances, that there is no conceivable escape. But if you were to pause for a solitary second and truly observe, you would realize that those bars possess no inherent weight. They are merely thin pages, painstakingly folded over years of fear, inscribed with lines like, "I'm not good at this," or "It's too late to start." And the profound tragedy is that you constructed this invisible cell yourself, brick by meticulous brick, excuse after painstaking excuse. Initially, you understood its unreality. But with the passage of time, you grew accustomed to its presence, to navigating within its confines, to abstaining from pushing its boundaries, to assuming that this was the absolute zenith of your capabilities. The unvarnished truth is that Epictetus, the venerable Stoic philosopher, foresaw this pervasive trap centuries ago. He famously asserted, "It's not things that disturb us, but our opinion about them." For what genuinely impedes your progress isn't the inherent difficulty itself, it's the narrative you painstakingly construct around it. Your excuses do not accurately describe the world as it is, they merely describe your comfortably distorted version of it. And if you persist in treating these self-imposed limitations as immutable laws, you will continue to inhabit the prison you meticulously constructed with your own hands. Now, visualize this scenario. You aspire to cultivate the habit of waking early, for you understand that it will imbue you with heightened focus, increased energy, and a more structured existence. Yet, you declare, "No, I'm simply not a morning person." And you reiterate this assertion as if it were your immutable horoscope, as if it were indelibly etched into your very DNA. However, you then find yourself staying awake until 2 a.m., engrossed in videos you won't even recall the following day. So, genuinely, is it an inability to rise early, or is it merely your reluctance to endure the transient discomfort of change? And please, understand, you are not alone in this. Did you know there's a phenomenon aptly named mental friction? Dan Coe, a perceptive observer of human behavior, explains it with remarkable clarity. He posits that your mind, sensing anything that threatens to dislodge you from the familiar, ingeniously invents reasons to abstain from action. This, he states, is mental friction. These are not merely random excuses, they are sophisticated defense mechanisms. Your brain, in its protective capacity, perceives anything new as a potential threat. Consequently, instead of articulating, "This is uncomfortable," it subtly whispers, "This isn't for you." And it is precisely at this juncture that the self-deception commences. Dan sagely advises a simple, yet profoundly effective strategy: catch yourself in the precise moment you begin to justify. In that fleeting split second when you utter, "I'll do it later, I can't today," or "maybe tomorrow." Because that is the critical, pivotal moment. If you permit it to pass, you will inevitably relapse into the familiar cycle. But if you seize it, you possess the power to break free. So now, tell me, will you continue to embrace the same antiquated narratives, or will you compel yourself to grow, second by painstaking second, even if it entails discomfort? Because if your desire for forward momentum is genuine, you will need to dismantle that pervasive thinking pattern. And to achieve this, here are 3 actionable steps you can implement today. Firstly, meticulously transcribe your most prevalent excuses onto a sheet of paper, one by one, without any self-censorship. Adjacent to each, meticulously record what a Stoic would offer in reply. For instance, if your excuse is, "I'm tired," right beside it, then work slower, but don't stop. Or, if it's, "I don't have time," add, "make space." Prioritize. Time exists. You're simply not where you need to be. Secondly, audibly record yourself articulating your excuses, but adopt an exaggerated, almost theatrical voice, like a character from a play. Then, play it back. You will be astonished by how utterly ridiculous it sounds. When you establish a certain psychological distance from these pronouncements, you will profoundly realize that you are not, in fact, trapped. You are merely adhering to a predetermined script. And thirdly, every time you apprehend yourself on the verge of uttering an excuse, execute 1-minute action, just one. Perform a single push-up. Send a solitary message. Open that dreaded file you've been assiduously avoiding for weeks. You are not obligated to accomplish everything, but you are absolutely compelled to do something. Because action, regardless of its magnitude, possesses exponentially more power than the most elaborate or sophisticated excuse. I leave you with this potent reflection: what if the excuse you cling to is not, in fact, real? What if you are, inadvertently, the silent saboteur of your own life? Every time you repeat an excuse, you are consciously choosing to stagnate. And remember, my friend, this life will not wait. The next time your mind attempts to convince you of your limitations, respond as Seneca would: while you hesitate, life passes. And second by second, it irrevocably slips away. 2. Small steps change your life. Picture this vivid scene: you awaken one morning, approach your front door, and discover a colossal boulder obstructing your path. A massive, unyielding rock, as if the very universe itself is declaring, you cannot move forward. You gaze at it, you exert all your strength to push it. Nothing. You attempt to shift it to the side. Impossible. Days turn into weeks, and it remains stubbornly in place. Until one day, almost out of sheer boredom, you pick up a small hammer and strike it, just once. Nothing perceptible happens. Yet, the following day, you strike it again, and again. Every single day, just one solitary strike. It seems almost insignificant, doesn't it? But after a week, a minuscule crack appears. After a month, the crack visibly spreads. And if you persist in striking it, one day, the rock will fracture. And finally, you will be able to step outside. That, my friend, is the profound essence of how genuine growth operates. Not through dramatic, epic pushes or fleeting Monday morning motivation. But through consistent, daily hammer strikes. Through decisions so deceptively simple that they appear almost pointless, yet they are anything but. Marcus Aurelius articulated it with striking clarity: don't waste what's left of your life wondering how to live it. Just live. And living, in this context, does not merely imply existing. It means relentlessly moving forward, even if it's just a millimeter a day. Even if no one offers applause. Even if it feels as though nothing is fundamentally changing. Because, in reality, everything is changing. Today, you possess the power to make a tiny, yet immensely powerful decision. Drink one additional glass of water. Embark on a 10-minute walk without the omnipresent distraction of your phone. Say no to someone without succumbing to guilt. These are not revolutionary acts, but they are undeniable progress. And every small step you take, every single one, is a way of compelling yourself to grow, second by precious second, even if the tangible results have yet to manifest. Most individuals abstain from change because they labor under the misconception that transformation must be a colossal event, a fireworks display of self-overhaul. But no, you simply need to incrementally improve by 1% every single day. Just that. Do you comprehend the profound implication of that? Over the course of a year, you would be a staggering 37% better than the person you are today. A remarkable 37%. And you do not require a revelation to achieve this, you simply require consistent repetition. This is not fundamentally about motivation, it is about cultivating a robust system. And if you remain skeptical, allow me to share the compelling story of Ashtkarya Paris. Ashtkarya Paris was a gifted fashion designer in Sri Lanka. In a single, devastating second, her world irrevocably transformed when she lost her sight in a terrorist attack. Her life, as she knew it, was forever altered. What did she do? She focused on what remained within her sphere of influence. She learned Braille, meticulously restructured her work processes, and began to vividly visualize in her mind what she had once effortlessly perceived with her eyes. Second by painstaking second, she adapted, and she meticulously rebuilt her life, step by deliberate step. Today, she stands as the acclaimed first blind fashion designer in her country. And she accomplished this not through magic, not through miracles, but through a series of small, unwavering decisions, through consistent, daily hammer strikes. Let me pose a question to you, my friend. Are you perpetually waiting for a grand transformation, yet simultaneously neglecting to make your bed? Are you still avoiding that email you've diligently sidestepped for weeks? Have you yet to put away the clothes you carelessly tossed onto that chair 3 days ago? Because genuine change does not commence when you enroll in a new course or utter some grandiose promise. It begins when you undertake the very things you are secretly ashamed to admit you are still not doing. What truly yields results is the establishment of a supportive system. Initiate a habit tracker, but not for 10 disparate items, focus on just 3, the most profoundly important ones. Maintain its record even when you falter on a given day. This is not about draconian control, it is about cultivating acute awareness. It is about discerning, without the comforting veil of excuses, whether you are truly moving forward or merely stagnating, whether you are growing, even just imperceptibly. Because when you engage in this honest self-assessment, you will realize that you are not obligated to transform everything. You simply need to alter something every single day. And remember, never underestimate the significance of the seemingly ordinary days, not just the monumental accomplishments. The repetitive, mundane days are, in fact, the invisible bricks that construct the very life you envision. The individual who anticipates every day to be perpetually exciting often finds themselves perpetually stuck, waiting, while everyone else diligently builds. My friend, the next time you declare, "I want to change my life," do not gaze skyward, searching for celestial signs. Instead, look at your feet. What specific step are you taking today, in this very moment, right here and now? And if your desire is for this to be the precise moment when everything irrevocably shifts, articulate it in the comments. Say it aloud. Because sometimes, merely articulating it, giving it linguistic form, constitutes your first courageous act. And we are here to walk this path with you. 3. Get out of that comfort zone. Now, tell me something candidly. How long has it been since you engaged in an activity that genuinely propelled you outside your sphere of comfort? When was the last time you consciously deviated from your established routine without the comforting illusion of having every single detail meticulously under control? Do you genuinely comprehend that, under the guise of rest, you are often merely choosing to remain perpetually stuck? Because, undeniably, comfort is a deceptive siren. Initially, it offers itself as a benevolent gift, peace, security, an unwavering sense of stability. But over time, if you linger there for too long, it insidiously transforms into a formidable anchor. Comfort, my friend, is frequently not a state of true rest, it is, in fact, resignation, artfully disguised. Imagine a child standing indoors, their face pressed yearningly against the windowpane. Outside, the sun bathes the world in golden light. There's a bustling park, filled with other children laughing, running, stumbling, and resiliently rising again. But this child remains rooted indoors, refusing to venture out, paralyzed by an unyielding fear. A fear of getting dirty, of experiencing loss, of not knowing precisely how to engage in the game. And you, observing from the outside, what counsel would you offer? Would you instruct them to remain perpetually confined, or would you wholeheartedly encourage them to step into the vibrant world beyond? Exactly. So, come on. You too. Compel yourself to move, even if your initial steps are clumsy and uncertain. Because if you do not actively work on yourself right now, in this precise, irretrievable moment, no one else will undertake that labor for you. Seneca, with characteristic clarity, declared, "Difficulty strengthens the mind as labor strengthens the body." And that invaluable difficulty, that crucible of growth, does not reside on your plush couch. It thrives out there, in the realm of what you cannot control, in the very endeavors you feel a burning shame to attempt. Can you genuinely envision Seneca, clad in his humble Roman toga, reclining at home and musing, perhaps I'll resume my writing tomorrow? Not a chance. In point of fact, he purposefully engaged in discomfort. He deliberately slept on the floor, wore coarse attire in winter, endured periods of fasting, and traversed the city streets, deliberately exposing himself to public contempt. Why? Because he intrinsically understood that the soul gains robust strength when it squarely confronts discomfort. He knew, with absolute certainty, that if you do not compel yourself to become stronger, life, in its inexorable march, will eventually shatter you. But let's be clear, you are not required to regress to the 1st century. Simply observe yourself in your present state. You have uttered it 1,000 times, you yearn to reside in another country. Yet, you perpetually convince yourself that it's not the right time, that you need to save a bit more, that you require someone to accompany you. But no, what you truly need is to move. For comfort will always be accompanied by 1,000 cunning excuses. Courage, in stark contrast, requires but a single, resolute one. If you recognize yourself in this pervasive pattern, I strongly recommend immersing yourself in Stephen Bartlett's insightful podcast, The Diary of a CEO. He frequently delves into this very phenomenon, asserting that genuine success commences precisely at the point of discomfort. He perfectly encapsulates this truth: growth and comfort cannot coexist. And he is absolutely, unequivocally correct. If you find yourself in a state of excessive comfort, it is an undeniable indicator that you have refrained from growing for far too long. So, are you prepared to initiate action? Here are some practical strategies to help you venture beyond your comfort zone without succumbing to a full-blown panic attack. Firstly, if a particular undertaking elicits discomfort, engage in its miniature version. Are you terrified of making a phone call? Then abstain from calling. Instead, send a concise voice note. Does stage fright paralyze you? Do not register for a stand-up comedy performance. Instead, create a brief 30-second video reel. Discomfort, you see, is conquered in manageable, small increments, not in one overwhelming leap. Secondly, deliberately substitute a daily routine with something entirely novel. Traverse a different street on your walk. Purchase a product you have never before sampled. Sit in an unfamiliar spot within your living room. These suggestions may sound utterly trivial, but your brain interprets these subtle shifts as unequivocal signals that you are progressing. And that, in turn, meticulously builds confidence. And finally, engage in this introspective exercise. On a sheet of paper, boldly inscribe the phrase, "What am I avoiding out of fear?" And then, respond to it. No filters, no justifications, just an honest, unvarnished answer. Because sometimes, the true impediment is not the inherent difficulty itself. It is, rather, the reluctance to admit that you are actively evading. Now, take a second to profoundly reflect. If today represented your absolute, final opportunity to seize this chance, would you still prioritize comfort? Before you formulate your answer, recall Seneca's timeless wisdom: we don't dare to do many things because they're difficult, but they're difficult because we don't dare. So, take that decisive step, even if your legs tremble uncontrollably. Because compelling yourself to improve, second by painstaking second, does not signify an absence of fear. It signifies your resolute choice to advance in spite of it. And that, my friend, is the essence of genuine, life-altering difference. 4. Learn to fail with purpose. Sometimes, we are prone to believing that failure is an irrefutable testament to our inadequacy. Yet, permit me to recount a story that profoundly illustrates how, when you embrace failure with deliberate purpose, every single misstep can, in fact, propel you closer to the life you profoundly envision. For an arduous 15 years, a man meticulously sequestered himself within his workshop every single day, consumed by a singular, unwavering idea. He was not a preternaturally gifted genius, nor was he a celebrated inventor. He was simply an individual stubbornly committed to the audacious goal of creating a vacuum cleaner that functioned flawlessly without the encumbrance of a bag. Sounds deceptively simple, doesn't it? It was anything but. He attempted once, met with failure. He attempted again, failed. And again, and again, and again. We are not speaking of 5 attempts, nor 20. We are speaking of an astonishing over 5,000 failed prototypes. More than 5,000 instances where he erred, meticulously tweaked an element, began anew, and unequivocally failed yet again. Any other individual would have long since capitulated. But he did not. Why? Because he grasped a profound truth that eludes the majority of us: every single failed attempt was not a defeat, it was invaluable information. He didn't lament, "I'm useless." He firmly declared, "This is not the way." And even when the pain of failure resonated deeply, he recognized its contribution to his relentless progress. That remarkable man was James Dyson. And thanks to every one of those illuminating mistakes, millions of individuals across the globe now utilize his innovative products. None of this would have materialized had he interpreted failure as an unequivocal signal to cease. Instead, he intrinsically understood what Marcus Aurelius had presciently written centuries earlier: the impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way. And Dyson embodied that principle. The failure was not an insurmountable obstacle, it was precise direction. It was the unerring map that illuminated both the path forward and the paths to avoid. That, my friend, is the profound meaning of failing with purpose. It is not falling merely for the sake of falling, but skillfully utilizing each stumble as a powerful lever to advance forward, imbued with greater intelligence and unwavering strength. Now, turn your gaze inward. Imagine yourself presenting an idea in a high-stakes meeting, facing the discerning eyes of all your superiors. You have meticulously prepared for days, sacrificing sleep, meticulously refining every word, adjusting your slides 20 times over. The pivotal moment arrives. You begin to speak. Your hands perspire. You pour every ounce of your being into your presentation. You conclude, silently confident that it went well. But then, an uncomfortable silence descends. They gaze at you, offer a polite, thank you. Then, a colleague states, it has potential, but it's not truly on target. It doesn't solve what we need. Another adds, perhaps we can explore alternative directions, but this particular one doesn't quite fit. And just like that, without yelling, without laughter, your meticulously crafted idea falls flat. You manage a faint smile, a polite nod, and utter, thanks for the feedback. But internally, you shrink. You depart the meeting feeling utterly foolish. You begin to harbor doubts, questioning your capabilities, wondering if it was ludicrous to even attempt, if perhaps you should forever refrain from speaking up again. Do you comprehend why these self-defeating thoughts arise? Joe Hudson elucidates it with striking clarity. The thing that holds us back the most isn't the fear of failure. It's the fear of failing in front of others, of being seen falling, of appearing weak. But do you know what he proposes? Begin to perceive failure as a trainable skill. Literally, fail, review, learn, adjust. Just as in competitive sports, just as in the grand tapestry of life. For if you never experience failure, it is an undeniable indicator that you are not genuinely striving. And now, you are likely questioning, how do I actually implement this? While it may prove challenging initially, trust me, it is profoundly effective. Meticulously document your most recent failure, but resist the urge to dramatize it. Record it as a discerning coach would review a game. What did you execute proficiently? What areas warrant improvement? What aspects would you consciously choose to repeat? By committing it to writing, you transcend the confines of your ego and gravitate closer to genuine growth. You can also establish a failure museum, a dedicated folder, a specialized notebook, a specific note on your phone, any repository where you meticulously store your missteps, and adjacent to each, the invaluable lesson you glean from it. Do you know why this is crucial? Because with the passage of time, as you revisit these entries, you will clearly discern that the person you once perceived as a mess was, in fact, meticulously building, and every single mistake was an indispensable brick in that construction. And above all, internalize this fundamental rule: every time you encounter a setback, failure does not define you. Remaining perpetually stuck does. The mistake is an intrinsic part of the path. The deliberate choice to cease all forward movement, that is what truly ensnares you. Failure, my friend, is akin to fracturing a bone. It inflicts pain. It compels you to halt. It throws you off balance. But if you embark on a proper recovery, that bone will heal, emerging stronger than before. That is the very essence of character development. That is the crucible in which courage is forged. Compel yourself to rise with heightened intention, enhanced clarity, and an invigorated fire within. Because if you embrace failure with deliberate purpose, you are never truly commencing from scratch. You are commencing from a rich foundation of experience. And that, my friend, is the precise point where individuals begin to genuinely transform their lives. 5. Your routine is your future. You vehemently declare your desire to transform your life, yet you persist in executing the exact same actions, day after unvarying day. Then, listen with utmost attention. What you engage in today is not merely a transient habit, it is a silent, yet powerful, prediction of your future. Every repeated action, every automatic decision, is meticulously shaping the future you are inexorably heading toward. And no, this isn't about some distant horizon 20 years from now, it's about the next year, 5 years, 10 years. Because your routine, my friend, is not neutral. It is a precise formula. And if you consistently replicate the same formula every day, then you already possess an accurate foresight of precisely where it is leading you. Seriously, reflect upon this. Do you genuinely appreciate what you are meticulously constructing? Because allow me to issue a profound warning, your idealized life does not miraculously materialize from mere intentions. It is painstakingly built by compelling yourself to improve, every single second of your existence. Envision it thus: your daily routine functions as a recipe. If you are consistently incorporating mediocre ingredients, day after day, then do not, under any circumstances, anticipate a gourmet culinary masterpiece as the end result. If, from the precise moment you awaken to the instant you retire to bed, you are merely reiterating the identical actions as yesterday, devoid of intention, devoid of direction, devoid of awareness, then no, you should not be surprised when absolutely nothing changes. As Seneca so sagely observed, it's not that we have little time, but that we waste a lot of it. And we do not squander it on monumental, consequential undertakings. We squander it on activities that propel us nowhere. This profound realization struck me deeply. I reached a juncture where I recognized my own stagnation. I felt as though I was expending immense effort, yet constructing nothing tangible. It was at this precise moment that I encountered the work of Andrew Huberman, a neuroscientist who extensively elucidates how the initial hours of your day fundamentally sculpt the subsequent functioning of your brain. He doesn't merely offer abstract theories, he meticulously substantiates his claims with rigorous scientific evidence. If you expose yourself to natural light in the morning, if you engage your body in movement, if you perform an activity unmediated by a screen, you will significantly regulate your dopamine levels, your focus, and your energy. This revelation revolutionized my routine. I commenced with a seemingly trivial action, 5 minutes of quiet breathing before reaching for my phone. That was it. And that solitary alteration profoundly impacted my day, for I ceased merely reacting to the external world and consciously began to create my internal world. And yes, it is a minuscule act. But when a minuscule act is imbued with conscious intention and consistently reiterated daily, it transmutes into a new, deliberate path. I am certain this phenomenon has occurred to you as well. You awaken, vaguely unsure of your immediate purpose. Within 2 minutes, you are inexorably tethered to your notifications. You are even unaware of why you launched Instagram, yet 10 minutes have already irrevocably vanished. You hastily consume breakfast, without conscious thought. You do not truly nourish yourself, you merely fill a void. You declare, "Today, I begin," every single day. And that elusive, "today," perpetually eludes your grasp. Because, deep down, you are not intentionally designing your routine, you are merely replicating the one you have always passively inhabited. So, if your genuine aspiration is to construct something fundamentally distinct, why not commence with your routine? Because it is precisely within this sphere that every subsequent decision is forged. Every second is imbued with profound significance, and you are acutely aware of it. Therefore, here is what you can undertake. Firstly, procure a pen and paper and meticulously design your routine. Approach it as though you are an elite athlete meticulously crafting their training regimen. Seriously. What time will you awaken? What is the very first action you will undertake? What ritual will decisively mark the commencement of your day? When the plan is explicitly articulated, it becomes immeasurably easier to adhere to it without relying on the capricious whims of your emotional state. Do not leave any room for internal mental debate. Issue clear, unequivocal directives to your future self. Secondly, set an alarm with a personalized message, but refrain from writing, "Wake up." Instead, write, "Don't ask, just do it." Allow your most stoic self to communicate directly with you when your indolent self commences its familiar, persuasive monologue. And furthermore, visualize your day as a grand staircase. Every single action you undertake, even the most minuscule, propels you one step upward. But if you elect to remain ensconced on the couch, engaged in nothing, you are not resting. You are, in fact, silently sliding backward. And you intuitively comprehend this. I understand. There will be days when you simply do not feel inclined to act. but you do not need to feel inclined. What you require is a steadfast, unwavering decision. Because when you adhere to your discipline and not to your indolence, you are meticulously constructing the very life for which your future self will undoubtedly express profound gratitude. So, tell me, my friend, which voice will you heed tomorrow morning when you awaken? The one that subtly whispers excuses, or the one that resolutely propels you toward a stronger, more realized version of yourself? 6. Don't believe everything you think. My friend, I acknowledge it. Sometimes, the formidable adversary is not external. It resides within your very own head. It manifests as those insidious voices that reiterate the same discouraging pronouncements, day after unvarying day, as if mere repetition imbues them with truth. You can't. You're not enough. You'll never make it. And the most unnerving aspect? They articulate these limitations in your very own voice. But listen with meticulous attention. The mere fact that you think it does not, under any circumstances, render it true. Your mind is a multifaceted entity, but consistently realistic it is not. At times, it is wildly creative, chaotically dramatic, perpetually pessimistic. It's akin to harboring a perpetually pessimistic parrot perched upon your shoulder, incessantly repeating throughout the day, "You can't do it. You're not good enough. You're going to fail." And, inevitably, when you are subjected to such relentless auditory bombardment, you ultimately internalize and believe it. But that parrot, my friend, possesses no inherent wisdom. It merely reiterates what it has absorbed over years, what you were told, what you tacitly assumed, what you accepted without critical interrogation. And if you fail to challenge it, it will, without fail, govern your entire existence. You have likely encountered the compelling narrative of Nick Vujicic. He was born without arms or legs. Can you truly conceive of the profound psychological and emotional burden of such a reality, particularly during the tumultuous teenage years when the overwhelming desire is simply to assimilate? His mind relentlessly bombarded him with the conviction that his life was devoid of meaning, that he would never experience love, that true independence was an unattainable chimera. He even contemplated ending his life. Yet, one day, he made a profoundly different choice, to irrevocably alter his perception of his situation. Today, he stands as a globally renowned speaker, a published author, and a devoted family man with 4 children. In a poignant interview, he articulated a fundamental truth: when you can't change your situation, change how you see it. And that, precisely, is the transformative power inherent in ceasing to believe every thought that permeates our minds. We consciously dissociate what we feel from who we are, what we hear from what we choose. Psychology, with its empirical rigor, substantiates this. Dr. Ethan Kross, the esteemed author of Chatter, The Voice in Our Head, Why It Matters, and How to Harness It, has meticulously studied how our pervasive negative inner voice impedes us more profoundly than any external obstacle. He proposes a deceptively simple, yet remarkably potent technique: mental distancing. What does this entail? It involves conversing with yourself in the third person. Instead of uttering, "I can't handle this," you ask, "How is Laura going to deal with this?" And if your name is not Laura, substitute it accordingly. While this may initially feel peculiar, it is demonstrably effective. For when you engage in self-talk as though you are addressing another individual, you diminish the overwhelming emotional weight of your thoughts. You create a vital psychological distance, thereby preventing yourself from dissolving into paralyzing fear. So, if your genuine aspiration is to effectively apply Dr. Kross's insights, commence by fundamentally altering that pervasive phrase so many individuals mechanically reiterate: "That's just how I am." Transform it into something more honest and nuanced: "Sometimes I think this way, but I don't have to act on it." Because declaring, "I'm insecure," is not semantically equivalent to asserting, "Sometimes I experience insecure thoughts." One irrevocably confines you, the other grants you invaluable space. Space to move, to grow, to respond with deliberate intention, even when your mind stubbornly urges you to remain unchanged. Here's an additional, highly effective strategy: when a negative thought invariably manifests, respond to it precisely as you would respond to your most cherished friend. If they confided that self-deprecating thought to you, would you unequivocally believe them? Or would you instead exhort them to persist, to never surrender, to remember their inherent worth? Then, extend that same profound compassion to yourself. Retort with empathy, not with fear. But do not labor under the misconception that this is a one-time endeavor. It is a continuous, daily training, a relentless practice, for your mind will not spontaneously quiet itself. You must assiduously train it, precisely as you would train a muscle you endeavor to strengthen. Thoughts are ephemeral, like clouds drifting across the expansive sky. They can be heavy, imbued with darkness, moving with bewildering rapidity, or simply suspended in mid-air. But they are not the sky itself. You are the sky, vast and unchanging, persistently present even when obscured by dense clouds. Epictetus comprehended this with flawless clarity. He could not dictate what thoughts would surface in his mind. But he could, with unwavering resolve, choose whether or not to permit them to control him. Emulate this wisdom. Do not identify with the transient storm. Permit it to pass. 7. Obey the plan, not the laziness. Ah, my friend, how many countless times have you been admonished that laziness yields no substantive results? And yet, with each reiteration of this truth, you likely inwardly assent, yes, yes, I understand. And then, with an almost imperceptible inertia, you remain precisely where you are, perpetually anticipating the elusive, perfect moment to initiate action. As if, one day, you will miraculously awaken, imbued with an unstoppable surge of energy that will instantaneously transform everything. But know, my friend, that utopian scenario is simply not destined to materialize. For if you are perpetually awaiting the inclination to act before undertaking what you intrinsically know must be done, you are condemned to a lifetime of waiting. Allow me to recount a scene from the film Whiplash that has indelibly imprinted itself upon my memory. Not due to the visceral depiction of blood, the explosive yelling, or the palpable tension, but rather for its profound symbolic resonance. Andrew, the protagonist, sits before his drum set, utterly alone. He possesses the unencumbered freedom to return home. No one is observing him. No one is exerting external pressure. Yet, he remains. He replicates the same arduous exercise, meticulously, for hours on end. He falters, commences anew, experiences profound frustration, but he never, ever quits. Because he has grasped a fundamental truth: if you only engage in practice when the mood strikes, you will never attain true mastery. He does not obey his capricious mood, he obeys the unwavering plan. And you are not required to be a musician to comprehend this profound principle. You simply need to pose this introspective question: how many instances have you consciously bypassed what truly matters, simply because you lacked the fleeting desire? How many times have you betrayed your deeply held goals for the ephemeral comfort of 5 additional minutes in bed? Andrew's relentless dedication was not a product of inherent strength, it was the direct consequence of his unwavering consistency. Because he consciously chose to act as the professional he aspired to be, long before he emotionally resonated with that identity. And if you haven't yet seen the film, I wholeheartedly recommend it. But approach it not merely as a narrative about music, perceive it as a potent mirror. One that reflects an uncomfortable truth we often assiduously avoid: your results are not predicated upon your innate talent. They are unequivocally dependent upon what you do when no one is offering applause. I am certain this phenomenon resonates deeply with your own experiences. You set your alarm for 7 a.m., intent on a morning run. But when it shrilly announces the arrival of a new day, your mind immediately launches a persuasive political campaign, artfully designed to convince you that tomorrow would be better. It cunningly promises that if you merely yield to rest today, you will be imbued with exponentially more energy tomorrow. Spoiler alert: tomorrow, it will articulate the identical deceptive promise. Or perhaps you rationalize: I won't train today, but I'll exert twice the effort tomorrow. And you already intuitively comprehend the inevitable conclusion of that narrative. If you are fortunate, you will find yourself passively observing reels of individuals who did undertake the effort. When such internal dialogues commence, summon the image of Marcus Aurelius. Envision him positioned beside you in that pivotal moment. What course of action would he undertake? Would he permit indolence to triumph? He, who willingly curtailed his sleep to meticulously record his meditations before commencing his profound duties as emperor. He, who never permitted the allure of power or the weight of exhaustion to divert him from his unyielding principles. Marcus Aurelius did not act when he felt inclined, he acted because he was bound by an unshakable duty. Because he profoundly understood that if you permit your mood to dictate your actions, you inevitably become its subservient slave. And I am not alone in articulating this truth. James Clear, the acclaimed author of Atomic Habits, steadfastly insists that motivation is vastly overrated. What truly matters, he argues, is the establishment of a clear, coherent system, a robust structure that unequivocally informs you what to do and precisely when to do it. And then, you simply do it. You do not intellectualize it, you do not engage in protracted debate, you do not succumb to delay, you simply execute. He terms this the silent identity, acting as the person you aspire to become, even when you do not yet emotionally resonate with that identity. For habit constructs character, not the inverse. So, if your genuine desire is to cease obeying your indolence and commence adhering to your meticulously crafted plan, here are a few potent strategies that can offer profound assistance. Firstly, procure a pen and paper and meticulously design your routine. Approach this task with the meticulousness of an elite athlete constructing their training regimen. Seriously. What specific time will you awaken? What is the very first action you will undertake? What ritual will unequivocally mark the commencement of your day? When the plan is explicitly articulated, it becomes immeasurably simpler to follow without relying on the ephemeral whims of your emotional state. Do not permit any room for internal mental debate. Issue clear, unequivocal directives to your future self. Secondly, calibrate an alarm with a personalized message, but refrain from inscribing, "Wake up." Instead, write, "Don't ask, just do it." Permit your most stoic self to directly address you when your indolent self commences its familiar, persuasive discourse. And furthermore, visualize your day as a grand staircase. Every single action you undertake, even the most minuscule, propels you one step upward. But if you elect to remain ensconced on the couch, engaged in nothing, you are not resting. You are, in fact, silently sliding backward. And you intuitively comprehend this. I understand. There will be days when you simply do not feel inclined to act. But you do not need to feel inclined. What you require is a steadfast, unwavering decision. Because when you adhere to your discipline and not to your indolence, you are meticulously constructing the very life for which your future self will undoubtedly express profound gratitude. So, tell me, my friend, which internal voice will you heed tomorrow morning when you awaken? The one that subtly whispers excuses, or the one that resolutely propels you toward a stronger, more realized version of yourself? 8. Who are you comparing yourself to? Tap, tap, tap. Every morning, the rhythmic sound of the deer's hooves echoed over the ancient stones by the shimmering lake. He was swift, effortlessly graceful, inherently agile. He delighted in observing his own reflection in the tranquil water, relishing the sensation of his robust strength, moving with effortless fluidity through the towering trees. But everything irrevocably shifted the day he first perceived a chameleon. The minuscule reptile, perched inconspicuously upon a sun-warmed rock, seamlessly altered its coloration with magical ease, green, then gray, then brown. It adapted with astonishing versatility to its surroundings. The deer observed, and a disquieting thought took root, all I am capable of is running. He can transform. I am utterly useless. From that moment forward, every subsequent encounter with another animal instilled within him a profound sense of diminishment. The beaver meticulously constructed impressive dams. The owl possessed boundless wisdom. The fox exhibited cunning intelligence. The deer ceased his running. He ceased his visits to the tranquil lake, refrained from gazing at his own reflection. Until one day, the chameleon, observing his melancholic state, inquired, "Aren't you running through the forest anymore?" And the deer, head bowed in despondency, replied, "What for? You all possess extraordinary gifts. All I possess are legs." And then the chameleon, without altering a single hue of its remarkable coloration, struck him with the unvarnished truth: you are the sole individual who has ceased engaging in what he profoundly loves. Not because you are inherently worthless, but because you have squandered your precious life gazing outward, instead of recalling who you already were. From that transformative moment onward, the deer ceased his outward comparisons and once again commenced his running. Now, turn your introspective gaze inward. How many countless times have you deliberately held yourself back, simply because, upon surveying your surroundings, you convinced yourself of your own inadequacy? How many instances have you observed another individual's forward momentum and instinctively thought, "Why should I even attempt?" The most insidious aspect of comparison is not merely its capacity to diminish your self-perception. It is, more profoundly, its ability to make you utterly forget your own intrinsic worth, leading to a paralyzing cessation of all forward movement. Seneca, with his characteristic, often painful, clarity, had already made this truth unequivocally plain: true happiness emanates from self-sufficiency. But, of course, that concept, while elegantly expressed within the pages of a philosophical treatise, becomes immeasurably more challenging to embody when you navigate the digital landscape of social media. You observe individuals traveling, perpetually smiling, consistently succeeding, and you, perhaps still in your pajamas, cradling a lukewarm cup of coffee, conclude that you must be fundamentally flawed. Yet, you do not witness their arduous struggles, their pervasive doubts. You do not perceive the sheer, unyielding effort that underpins their visible achievements. You are, in essence, comparing the entirety of your lived experience to their meticulously curated, best angle, and most flattering, best lighting. Did you know that engaging in self-comparison with others can, in fact, extinguish your motivation, even if you are, objectively, performing commendably? It sounds paradoxical, but it has been empirically substantiated. Psychologist Thomas Musweiler from the University of Cologne meticulously studied this phenomenon and uncovered a fascinating insight. When you compare yourself to an individual who is vastly beyond your current reality, your inherent drive is utterly suppressed. However, when you compare yourself to your own past self, your motivation experiences an explosive surge. The unequivocal key: direct your gaze inward. Focus on your earlier iteration, not the individual beside you, not the carefully constructed online persona. Your past self is a worthy rival. So, if your genuine aspiration is to break free from the self-sabotaging cycle of unproductive comparisons, here are some practical strategies you can implement. Initiate a journal dedicated to your personal wins. These need not be monumental achievements. Perhaps today, you consistently maintained your water intake. You successfully navigated that difficult conversation. You dedicated an additional 10 minutes to that nascent habit you are diligently cultivating. Document them. Read them aloud. Remind yourself of every single instance of your forward momentum. And if you are more visually oriented, capture photographs. Document your training sessions. Maintain a visual record of your progress. Do you aspire to read more? Create a chart and meticulously track the number of books you complete each year. This is not about proving anything to anyone. It is about consistently reminding yourself that you are already in motion. Furthermore, set goals that emanate authentically from you, not ones you have indiscriminately absorbed from the online sphere. Do you genuinely desire to relocate to another city, or do you merely believe you should because everyone else appears content traveling? Are you genuinely enthused by the prospect of launching your own business, or is it merely another ephemeral, trendy aspiration? Align your goals with your core values, not with the cacophonous noise that surrounds you. Another crucial strategy: impose a rigorous, self-imposed limit on your online time. Not as a punitive measure, but as an act of profound self-preservation. And with the time you reclaim, strategically reinvest it in your own development. Learn something new. Embark on a reflective walk. Engage in a meaningful conversation unmediated by a screen. Because no one truly flourishes while engaged in comparison. You flourish when you actively engage. My friend, compelling yourself to improve, second by painstaking second, is not about competing with others. It is about resolutely ceasing all comparisons and reclaiming your own authentic voice, the voice you unwittingly silenced amidst the clamor of likes, the superficiality of motivational videos, and the ostentatious achievements of others. So, the next time you experience a profound sense of diminishment after gazing at someone else's carefully curated life, deliberately shift your direction. Look inward. Then, look backward at your own journey. And then, continue moving forward. Because the sole determinant that truly matters is this: are you incrementally better today than you were yesterday? If your answer is an unequivocal yes, then you are winning, and you are constructing something that no one can ever expropriate from you, your own authentic path. 9. Your environment lifts you or drowns you. My friend, I am about to pose a challenging question. Have you ever genuinely paused to reflect upon the individuals with whom you consistently spend the most time? Who do you engage in daily conversation with? Whose voices do you habitually listen to? What recurring phrases saturate your auditory environment? Because, upon careful consideration, the voices that surround you can either serve as potent fuel or as insidious, suffocating mud. The individuals with whom you share your daily existence are not neutral entities. They either unequivocally uplift you or relentlessly drag you down. And the most insidious aspect? Most of the time, you remain utterly oblivious to this profound influence, for you grow accustomed to it. Accustomed to the incessant complaints, to the pervasive pessimism, to the insidious counsel of, better not risk it. And without conscious awareness, you commence to extinguish your own inherent fire, merely to seamlessly assimilate. Consider the compelling narrative of Muhammad Ali, a young Iraqi boy who came of age amidst the harrowing backdrop of explosions, ruins, and pervasive fear. In a place where many children found themselves compelled to engage in grim games of dodging bombs, he consciously chose to engage in rigorous training. His family possessed no luxuries, no semblance of stability. Yet, they possessed something immeasurably more valuable: a small, unwavering circle of influence that daily affirmed his potential, consistently assuring him that he could transcend his circumstances if he toiled with the dedication of a true professional. And he did. Today, he stands as one of the preeminent young talents in Asian football. When questioned about his improbable escape from such a debilitating environment, he articulated it with profound clarity: "My friends didn't play with bombs. They played at training like professionals." Do you grasp the essence of this? It was not serendipitous luck. It was his meticulously curated environment that relentlessly propelled him forward. That, my friend, is the power of a circle of influence. What surrounds you indelibly imprints upon you. There are numerous studies empirically demonstrating that your immediate environment exerts an influence of at least 70% on your personal or professional success. And this is not some mystical phenomenon. It is the direct consequence of consistent exposure. Envision yourself as a majestic hot air balloon. Internally, you possess a blazing fire, motivation, unyielding energy. But if you are burdened by innumerable sandbags, regardless of your fervent desire to ascend, you will remain tethered to the ground. Your environment embodies those metaphorical sandbags. And if you fail to jettison those that are excessively heavy, those that restrain you, those that keep you grounded, you will never truly soar. I am certain this experience resonates deeply with you. You resolve to embark on a healthier dietary regimen, and suddenly, everyone in your immediate vicinity appears to conspire against you. Come on, one day won't hurt. You used to be so much more fun. You're becoming boring. They laugh, they tempt, they subtly sabotage your efforts. And, inevitably, to preserve a semblance of peace, you yield. But at what profound cost? At the cost of your own precious progress. Because in your endeavor to avoid making others uncomfortable, you ultimately find yourself perpetually stuck. If you have persevered this far, it is an unequivocal testament to your genuine desire to compel yourself to improve, every single second. Therefore, now is the opportune moment to undertake a rigorous, unsparing assessment of what and who surrounds you. Firstly, conduct an energy scan. Reflect upon the 3 individuals with whom you converse most frequently during the week. Do they consistently inspire you or relentlessly drain you? Do they unequivocally encourage your personal growth or subtly insinuate that you are overreacting every time you attempt something novel? And please, understand, this is not about brutally severing ties. It is about judiciously adjusting the allocation of your invaluable time and energy. Perhaps you cannot entirely avoid their presence, but you can, with deliberate intention, dictate how much you truly absorb from their discourse. And, most importantly, who is granted the privilege of influencing your profound decisions. And here is an even more critical realization: your environment is not solely comprised of people. It also encompasses the content you consume, what you watch, what you listen to, what you read. Are you deliberately immersing yourself in videos that challenge you, books that stimulate your intellect, podcasts that expand your cognitive horizons, or is it merely a ceaseless torrent of noise, memes, and drama? Because, ultimately, what you feed your environment is precisely what nourishes you. Remember Seneca's profound counsel: avoid the company of those who do not better you. He uttered this not to project an aura of superiority. He stated it because he intrinsically understood that the soul is sculpted through imitation. That what you consistently witness, day after day, inexorably becomes an intrinsic part of who you are. Now, I eagerly await your insights. Who constitutes your immediate circle? Is your environment propelling you forward or holding you back? Share your reflections in the comments section. Perhaps your candid narrative will illuminate the path for others, inspiring someone else to undertake a rigorous examination of their own circle. Because sometimes, all it takes is encountering a story akin to yours to realize that it is time to shed some burdensome weight. And please, remain tuned, for what immediately follows is the most crucial segment of all. Because there is no inherent benefit in surrounding yourself with remarkable individuals, meticulously crafting a robust routine, or triumphing over your personal excuses if you fail to implement this final, pivotal step. This is where the profound reality of your journey crystallizes. Where you definitively decide whether you are committed to perpetual growth, second by painstaking second, or if you will continue to idly wait. 10. Celebrate, breathe, and keep going. Sometimes, my friend, we become so utterly consumed by the relentless pursuit of forward momentum that we inadvertently lose sight of the profound reasons that initially compelled us to embark on this journey. You find yourself mechanically checking off tasks, diligently hitting goals, faithfully adhering to routines, yet you remain completely oblivious to the fact that you are, in essence, operating like an unfeeling machine. Devoid of breaks, devoid of celebrations, devoid of the very breath that signifies life. And then, one day, you find yourself utterly exhausted, questioning the very arduousness of continuing. The answer, my friend, is disarmingly simple: because you never granted yourself the inherent permission to genuinely savor what you had already meticulously achieved. Marcus Aurelius articulated this with profound power: the art of living is more like wrestling than dancing in that it demands being ready and firm against the unexpected. But even the most formidable combatant requires moments of respite, periods for healing, opportunities to savor a victory, regardless of its magnitude. Living is not about ceaselessly throwing punches without reprieve. You are granted the inherent right to smile, and yes, you are permitted to halt your relentless pace. This exact realization struck me profoundly when I commenced my own project. I was so singularly fixated on the relentless chase of future goals that I failed to acknowledge, let alone celebrate, the accomplishments I had already meticulously accumulated. I was publishing, working, and consistently improving, without cessation, until one day my partner gazed at me and posed a piercing question: what is the point of exerting such intense effort if you never experience any genuine joy? And that question struck me with the force of a bucket of frigid water. For they were unequivocally correct. I was so relentlessly fixated on the next elusive step that I never once paused to celebrate the numerous steps I had already successfully traversed. And this isn't merely an emotional observation, it is empirically supported by scientific research. Dr. Kristin Neff, one of the world's foremost researchers in the field of self-compassion, has conclusively demonstrated that individuals who celebrate their smaller victories and extend kindness to themselves exhibit greater consistency in their progress than those who relentlessly subject themselves to unyielding pressure. Why? Because self-compassion is not a manifestation of weakness. It is, in fact, potent emotional fuel. It is the very essence that enables you to rise each day without experiencing internal disintegration. Allow me to offer a simple, illustrative example. Let us assume you have diligently woken early and faithfully adhered to your morning routine for 5 consecutive days. Yes, that very same routine we meticulously assisted you in constructing, step by painstaking step, just a few sections ago. Something that once felt utterly insurmountable. Yet, instead of acknowledging this remarkable accomplishment, you dismiss it with a casual, whatever. It's just what I'm supposed to do. And just like that, the profound impact evaporates. The nascent motivation dissipates. As if your earnest effort did not warrant even a single commendation. As if striving to improve, second by painstaking second, is inconsequential unless it culminates in some monumental, earth-shattering achievement. So, today, I wish to offer you something fundamentally different, a small, yet profoundly impactful, challenge. At the conclusion of each week, meticulously compile a list of 3 things you executed proficiently. They need not be epic in scope. Perhaps you consistently maintained your water intake. You successfully navigated that difficult conversation. You dedicated an additional 10 minutes to that nascent habit you are diligently cultivating. Inscribe them. Read them aloud. Remind yourself, unequivocally, that you are indeed moving forward. Also, consider implementing this, adopt a concluding word for your day. A simple ritual. As you extinguish the light, utter something akin to, "Today, I made progress." Or, "Today, I gave it my all." While this may initially sound trivial, it unequivocally imbues the conclusion of your day with profound purpose. It serves as a powerful reminder that you are steadfastly adhering to your path. And, unequivocally, grant yourself something. Yes, seriously. A tangible, concrete reward for successfully completing a week of unwavering discipline. It need not be extravagant. Perhaps a solitary walk, a meal you genuinely relish, an afternoon devoid of external pressures, something your mind explicitly associates with, "I earned this because I remained consistent." That emotional anchor is absolutely indispensable if your aspiration is to sustain your routine over the long term. For no, you are not a machine. You are a profound work in progress, and every single brick you lay is imbued with immense significance. But if you neglect to celebrate what you are meticulously constructing, you will never genuinely feel as though you truly inhabit your own home. So, celebrate. Breathe. And then, continue. Because compelling yourself to improve, second by painstaking second, is not about crushing yourself under the weight of excessive pressure. It is about relentlessly moving forward with profound awareness, knowing unequivocally that yes, you are pushing yourself, but you are also unequivocally acknowledging your strenuous effort. That it is not solely about attaining the ultimate goal, but about profoundly honoring the intricate process itself. So today, right now, pause. Gaze inward. And unequivocally grant yourself the profound credit you so demonstrably deserve. Because you are performing admirably. And there remains an immeasurable amount yet to construct. Halting the pervasive hesitation, seizing unequivocal control, and compelling yourself to grow, second by precious second, that is the authentic revolution. You do not require some mystical surge of motivation. You require courageous, decisive actions. Every minuscule act of discipline is an indispensable brick. Every excuse you dismantle is a liberated door, flung wide open. You are not here to exist in a state of suspended animation. You are here to meticulously construct yourself, to relentlessly advance, even when no one is observing. For the life you profoundly envision does not miraculously materialize in a single, grand leap. It is meticulously earned, second by painstaking second, every single time you resolutely choose not to yield. If you have persevered this far, unequivocally affirm your commitment in the comments. I don't stop. I get better every second. In doing so, I will discern the true Stoic warriors who have journeyed to the very end. Don't forget to subscribe to BAudio, hit the notification bell, and like this video so you won't miss out on what's coming next. I also invite you to explore our curated playlists, which you'll find on the screen. They are brimming with insights, compelling narratives, and actionable wisdom to help you navigate life with heightened clarity and unwavering confidence. Click and let's relentlessly advance, together. Until next time, nurture your soul, and continue to wholeheartedly embrace your inner Stoic.